ask any questions that are going in your mind. So I'm here just to introduce the Staff Council election cycle, which we opened up nominations yesterday and they're online and open now. It's a Qualtrics form. People are welcome to nominate themselves or nominate someone else that they think would be great in that role. Staff Council has been around now. This is the third sitting of a council. So the election cycle that we're working on is a 2-year stint that would start in this July and go for 2 years. The different seats are broken up by exempt and non-exempt, and then also the 3 focuses generally that the campus staff are in, which is structural, which would be sort of the operations ones, student facing, or academic. So we have a certain number of seats of each type, non-exempt and exempt, in each of these 3 areas. And we also have a sitting union representative. So it's roughly half of the the staff council rolls off each year. So I think it's 9 people this year. So it's 9 one year and 10 the next. And then people are welcome to run for, or to go for 2 consecutive sessions of 2-year terms. And then after that, they need to roll off for at least 1 term and then they can come back. So we have a mixture of people who have been on the staff council since the beginning, and we have some people who are relatively new. We have 1 person who's only been on council for a couple months because he's filling in for somebody who departed, who left the university. So we have all levels of experience, all levels of enthusiasm, and mostly we serve by monthly meetings and making sure that we're hearing from campus representatives and they're hearing from us. Many of us serve on committees on campus, and then staff council has a number of subcommittees that are formed with specializations in mind, such as the review benefits and compensation, who work very closely with human resources, the inclusion and community folks who work with the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and also they're looking at community issues and how to get together more often and connect with other people on campus, even when we're being remote. We have the Recognition and Appreciation Committee. They're working on the staff celebration as well as some other ideas on campus. They do the, let's see, the Kudos for Colleagues. That's a form that people can fill out to say thanks to other folks on campus. So a number of committees that different people join based on their interests as far as trying to get their voice heard on campus. Chelsea, would you add anything?
No, I think that's pretty good.
And I probably should have said, I'm Kit Morse and I'm this year's president, and Chelsea is our secretary treasurer. We also have 2 staff council members who are here who are going to talk in a little bit, but we work very closely with the president's cabinet as well. And our liaison to the cabinet this year is Tim Leary. So we asked him if he would say a few words for us.
Thanks, Kit. So I'm trying to think what would be most important here. I guess a couple of things. This is my 25th year at Seattle U, and 20 years ago, there was a staff council that called SUSA that was here and was pretty successful over time. At the same time, I think people felt in general that wasn't as effective as it should be, and it kind of disbanded. And then, as Kit has talked about, the group has come back. And part of what we've tried to do is provide, in a liaison position, support for the kinds of things that the group is all about. So Kit alluded to some of the stuff that's happening now. Chris Van Loo on the line today has been working with the whole Reignite Our Strategic Priority Plan, Reignite Strategic Directions movement here. And one of them is about strengthen professional formation for our staff. And so one of the things we've tried to do, and we work really closely with this group, and to be honest with you, the best open forum we've had all year has been with this group here. And as I alluded to earlier, the president showed up, so we had a great crowd of 111 people, as Kit said, to talk about the priorities that we see for staff. And so as the liaison, and Chris has been working with us too, what we're trying to do is to help staff to figure out ways that they can be most effective in addressing the needs of our staff. I really break it down in 3 ways. First and foremost, now, so you might fit into this category is student services. We've got a lot of staff that provide incredible service for our students, make life easier, help them move around the institution a little easier, whether it's enrollment or financial aid or what have you. There's a whole number of our staff members that work hard to create that efficient, effective environment for students. And then we have our staff as educators. Now, these overlap. There's no one way to look at them, but we have a good share of our staff members on campus that actually are educating in the out-of-classroom environment. There are numerous studies out that show that students say that oftentimes they learn as much in the out-of-classroom environment as they do in-class environment. That out-of-class environment is dominated for the most part by our staff, people that work in student development and all kinds of other areas that really do have a significant impact on the lives of students. And then the third is about the campus community. Obviously, we're wrestling with some of these issues right now with the hybrid environment or the online environment versus the in-person environment, because we do see the importance of community as huge. Our staff members play a significant role in creating the kind of community that we want to see here at our Jesuit University. So all 3 of those areas are big. My role and Chris's role to some extent this year has been to try to help articulate some of that and to help staff council to move through with some of the initiatives that they feel like are most important. So first and foremost, as I mentioned, the professional development and formation of staff is one of the major projects that we're working on here. Kip mentioned the celebration of staff. We're trying to blow that up this year and do something a little bit different with it. How do we recognize our staff members for their incredible contributions in this most difficult time, challenging time? So it's, again, recognizing who our staff members are and what they're doing. How do we improve the quality of the work environment for our staff members? People come to the council here and with their concerns. And, our role in an administrative liaison is to kind of help move through something so we can adjust and make changes that help to create a better environment for our staff. Compensation and benefits is significant. We don't have any discussion with staff around some of the challenging issues they have that don't somehow involve compensation and benefits. So we'll continue to work with that part of it as well. We want to keep staff here. And when we not only attract staff, we've got to figure out ways to make this campus environment a better environment for them. They need to enjoy coming to work. It's not every day that we enjoy coming to work, but the vast majority should be the kinds of things where we want to be here and to really contribute. So again, from our vantage point, we'll work hard to help this council to do a good job in all 3 of those different areas. So let me just leave it there. Chris, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Sure, thanks, Tim. And for those on the recorded side of this, Chris Van Loo, Vice President for Strategic Initiatives here at Seattle University. And honestly, because of the things that Tim just mentioned, I view staff council as a vibrant and vital part of institutional shared governance. It creates a balanced approach to guiding inquiry and decision-making by providing a place and a group and a broad structure to enhance the voice of staff here at Seattle University. There's lots of examples. Tim has provided some current ones, but even early in its time, one of the early things that the staff council did was to do a staff voices survey, and we've been relying on some of the results of that work to guide a great deal of the work ever since. The staff council has aligned staff representatives into the various committees of the institution, whether internal, such as the University Technology Committee, or with the trustees and the board committees as well. A very important addition and improvement to ensuring staff voice is connected with how we make decisions and the flow of information for the university. And staff council is engaged with various service groups on campus, like Chartwells or Public Safety, the Reopening Task Force, HR, the current and varied strategic directions working groups. And so a lot of work, a really strong and important example of staff council's work recently was related to the Reigniting Our Strategic Directions document and the feedback in particular that helped us make much more prominent and obvious the professional formation for staff portion of goal 2 in the document. And so some real tangible results in addition to things like flex work improvement and sick leave vacation bank results and other things that the staff council has been involved in. So some really strong work by the staff council, but it takes a continuous flow of staff onto the staff council to ensure that we sustain this work. And that's part of what this meeting today is.
Good points, Chris.
We also have a couple of representatives from staff council, one exempt and one non-exempt, and wanted to let them add whatever information they thought would be useful for potential candidates to know. So Chewy, you're already unmuted. I'm going to pick you first.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was unmuted. Hi, I'm Chewy Garcia. I work in Student Health Center, admin assistant here. And what initially drew me to want to participate on staff council is the idea of, well, just getting involved, really beyond just showing up at work. I was really inspired by what Chris Van Loo alluded to or mentioned, was the idea of participating in a group that would help develop or I guess shared governance to help in that project, I guess. I think often staff is undervalued or feels undervalued, and I feel like participating on staff council is one way to help lift voices of staff and concerns, and is a great platform to relay staff concerns and advocate for staff in a way that is, yeah, it just feels like it's a good way to connect with other staff members, and actually that's one of the things that I think I've enjoyed the most, is being able to connect with other staff and to hear from other staff members, and just really inspired by all the really brilliant people by the other staff members, and all the great ideas, all the wonderful work that all the staff members do, and it's been great to be in solidarity with other staff members in trying to, push for, sorry, I'm having a brain freeze. I think it's, I was gonna make a joke about long COVID, but I won't. Anyway, just it's been really a great opportunity to meet with other staff members and to learn more about the workings of the university, and I've learned a great deal about other departments, and just more it's been a great educational process as well as just being a great platform to advocate for staff concerns and elevate staff voice. And I'm on the committee for communications committee, and that's been really great too, to be able to work, use, I guess, what I feel are my talents in the way to help with that committee, as we do a bunch of different things related to, it's a pretty big purview of the communications committee, but so anyway, I think that's about it. Thanks.
Thanks, Chewy. Andrea.
Andrea Ross. I am Senior Event Coordinator in the Conference and Event Services Department. I echo what Chewy has said. I, like you, Niles, have been at the university about 2.5 years. So I joined staff council this year, this past June election, partly because I was newer to the community and I wanted to get more connected with staff in other areas and really learn about the university and those other areas through staff council, as well as sort of to learn how, different hierarchy and programs work within the university. So it has helped me a lot. And I echo what Chewy had said about the connection to the other staff members. But what I really learned and enjoyed about it is that, we as staff hear from students, other staff, faculty, different either challenges, positive, negatives throughout their areas that may or may not be affecting your area. And so I've learned a lot about, using my voice to represent those individuals, and how the other staff council members use their voice to represent those members around their areas. So there's a lot of good information and learnings that come out of staff council. Some things that don't affect my department, but affects maybe someone like yours who's more student facing. So we have some students, but we are not full student facing. And so I've learned a lot in terms of what they go through or their challenges or their positives and what they've experienced and learned and how we can sort of apply that to other areas throughout campus. And so that was what motivated me to become part of staff council and really has kept me engaged and excited about being a part of this community. I am on the recognition committee, the RA, so kudos. I happen to manage those. So all kudos come through me. And I'm also on the nominations committee. So I've learned a lot about the inner workings of staff council. So along with the bylaws, nomination process, the different people with whom we get elected to be a part of staff council. And I really like it. So I'm in my first term and then I'll have one more year within this term.
All right, thanks.
Could I add
all-
some benefits?
Yeah, please do.
that I see
Please
as
do.
well? Thank
Yeah, go
you,
for it.
everyone, for sharing. But there's a few benefits for joining staff council, one of which is we started it last year. Members of staff council are paid a stipend that's $12.50 for 2 years, so $625 each year of service. So the terms generally are for 2 years. The other piece is just personally, I feel like I have learned a lot more about the workings of Seattle University at the administrative level, things that I didn't really understand before or didn't know why things were done a certain way. Also learned, like Andrea alluded to, other departments and how decisions impact all these different areas. And also, I feel like I've become a better leader. Everyone who serves on staff council is a leader in their areas, and staff come to us and ask for us to advocate on their behalf or just want to talk through something. So I feel that there's several benefits that you can get by joining staff council. So I encourage you, if you're thinking about doing it, it is really enriching personally.
Yeah, I will say conference and event services deals with most departments on campus in one way or another. And I've met a ton of new people that I didn't even know were here. And I would say have obtained some really solid, good friends that are going to long outlast my term on staff council. I've been so impressed by the quality and the commitment of the staff who are on this and really want to make Seattle University an amazing place to work. And it's just been a really wonderful and positive experience for me as well. So that's actually all the prepared agenda items we had for anyone. Do you have any specific questions, Miles, we can answer for you?
Sure. Well, first, thank you. That was a lot of good information there. I guess one question that I had is, what do you or people that are currently serving have in mind as far as like what is staff council lacking currently?
I don't know about on an individual basis. COVID kind of threw us for a loop, and the first 2 years that we were in session, we were able to have some training as a whole group, and that's been a little harder this year. We've been so engaged in some of the concerns that staff have brought to us, and trying to work out different things, that we haven't spent much time on development of the staff council as an entity. And that's something I'm hoping we can focus a little more on in the future. One of the things we had done was some anti-bias training in the past, and that was great. We did something on the Myers-Briggs and how the different personalities can work together. So this past year, we weren't able to do something like that, and I'd love to see that happen again. Now, if there's anything else that people want to add?
Kit, I'm wondering if you and Chelsea have both spoken to the fact that you, at some level, you feel like you're just getting going in these leadership positions and it's time to transition off. I wonder if you could just speak to a little bit about that feeling. And it takes a fair amount of time to kind of best understand the workings of the institution, and then it's time for you to step off.
Yeah, it's something that we're addressing as a council right now. There was a committee put together to create the staff council, and our first sitting president had been on that committee. So she had a good background in leadership and understanding what staff council was about, and having connections on campus. The second president had been the vice president in the first council. So she also had some experience in being on the leadership team and really understanding kind of the moving forward. That was not the case with me. I was not on the leadership team prior to that. I had been a staff council member, but that was it. So we're looking at trying to create some better transition systems. Perhaps the current bylaws have us electing our leaders in June and then them taking office beginning July 1st. And we're looking in future at starting that earlier and then having a little overlap so there's more training. Luckily, the folks who are currently on the leadership team, everyone has committed to helping out the new leadership team, whoever they are, throughout the summer to help get them going and provide better transition tools. We're trying to document everything we can. We do have a Teams channel and we have a number of files in there. So as the issues come up, we're trying to get them on paper or electronic paper so that the next team doesn't have as many, where do we go? Who do we ask what of? So that's been a challenge for us this year, but we feel like we're making some good progress. And we're working with staff council to see about potentially extending people's terms. If they're going to be elected, if they can stay on an additional amount of time, or perhaps making the leadership roles go for more than a year. So we're kind of looking to see what the best situation would be. And as a whole staff council, we're going to be deciding that in the next couple months.
I do have some more questions. So
please go ahead.
I guess what are some of the highlights that you think you have accomplished over the last couple of years? Like some things that we might not know as staff have come from staff council, or things that you guys have been working on that you're particularly high on?
A couple come right to the top of mind. The first thing is that prior to staff council, there were only 2 staff awards given out yearly, and now there are 5. 2 of the 2 that existed before the leadership awards are still in existence. We also have a Sunshine Award for someone who really brightens everybody else's day, and the Living the Mission Award for someone who really demonstrates a commitment to the mission in their daily life. And then there's a Team Award that's now part of the whole awards process, and those did not exist prior to the staff council. The other thing is that we now have staff representation on all of the Board of Trustees committees, and that was not in existence before. So people self-nominate for that, and then they're chosen to represent staff voices throughout the year for the Board of Trustees. So that's a really great one. Those are 2 I can think of right off the top of my head. Anyone else?
Just advocacy that staff council's done for flex work, and also, during this time of COVID, parking has been an issue. So we've bubbled those issues up. Those are two that come to mind right immediately. Anyone else?
I think as a senior person, I would say as executive vice president, Chris and I find ourselves in meetings, saying things like, what would staff council say? Or we need to run this by staff council. So I think staff councils establish themselves in this shared governance role where we are thinking early on about the fact that this is a group that represents the needs of staff, and we need to work through this group on some of these issues to get things accomplished. So that's a real change in the last year or two.
One thing that happened recently is that the HR has now brought back the, there's a bank of sick leave that staff can now apply to if they've run out of all their sick leave and holiday pay, or vacation pay, vacation time. If they've run out of all their PTO, a lot of people have had to use all of it during this time of COVID. And so now that is something that HR reinstituted just recently, I think in the last month or two. And that was due to advocacy from the staff council.
The university had a half-time faculty ombudsperson, and that role is now being expanded to be a full-time faculty and staff ombudsperson. So they're writing the job description for that and going to be posting soon. So that's new. Kudos for Colleagues is also new. That's the online way where you can very quickly say, hey, nice job, great working with you. And the person gets a certificate and just the acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also ongoing projects that haven't come to fruition yet, but are in the works. Different committees are working on different projects that I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but does anyone have?
Our recognition committee is gathering the information on what different recognition programs different departments are using or utilizing to give others ideas on how to incorporate into their own departments, because we know that there are some departments that have 4 or 5 programs that they use, and there's some that may not have any. And so we're trying to make staff feel more recognized even within their own departments. And this is a way by gathering this information.
They're collecting similar information on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs throughout campus. There are some departments that have anti-bias training before hiring, for example. So they're trying to gather all those programs and see if others want to replicate them or can. Again, trying to provide lots of resources for folks.
Great.
More questions?
Yeah, I've got 2 more maybe.
Okay.
What sort of discussion or plans have you had in regards to like professional development, like further training opportunities and staff development as in a professional way?
That's great. Tim could probably talk to this a bit more, but because of staff council's involvement with the strategic directions initiatives, that professional formation for staff is one of the focus areas and has a committee specifically assigned to exploring that topic. There's a professional development center subcommittee of staff council, but the lion's share of the work is being done by the strategic initiatives group that's put together right now. Tim, you want to talk a little about that maybe?
Yeah, well, as we've alluded to a number of times, the strategic planning work here, we've identified 5 major areas that we're working with on staff. And the first is about total rewards, compensation, and benefits. Again, it starts with that. The second is developing this sense of belonging and purpose and connectedness to the institution. So putting together programs and opportunities for people to really get connected here. The third one, Niles, would be one that I think you're specifically looking at. And third would be provide additional opportunities for staff to enhance their skills and professional growth and development. And I think it centers around a couple of things. One is that it's important for us to note that there needs to be additional opportunities either for someone in their own position or for them to move throughout the institution, maybe in different kinds of positions. So what we'd hope to do is to put together a whole array of programs and services that would allow people to kind of identify the kinds of things where they feel like they need more growth and opportunities. So they would have programs available to them where they could delve into some of that work to develop more of an expertise in some of those areas that don't have at this particular time. So that number 3, I think, really focuses on some of the things you're talking about. And it's not necessarily just for promotion. It could very well be that someone's quite happy in their job, but they just would like to grow and develop as a human being a little more. And so some of those programs will focus on that area as well.
Great. That's perfect. Thank you. I guess kind of the last question I have is, I guess, what sort of vision do you have? I know we kind of touched on a variety of that, but like moving forward, kind of, is there anything that you guys are planning to add or what would like to see come to light as far as what the staff council is working on?
One thing that Chris alluded to was that we did a survey campus-wide to look at staff concerns and issues, and that was done last in 2018. So it's been a while, and we do want to do an updated version to see if we've made movement along some of the areas that were specific concern, and see if maybe, you know, we've had a pandemic in the middle of that since then. So has the focus of people or their concerns changed any? Should we be focusing on different areas? We used the results from that survey really to create a number of the committees that currently exist, because they're focusing on areas that staff said these are the biggest areas that we would like people to work on and we want to see movement on. So we should be checking back in again to make sure that we're still moving in the same directions. Another area that we've kind of put on the back burner, and again, because of COVID, is looking at the community aspect. Tim talked about the belonging sense, and we were able in 2019 to have an ice cream social at the end of summer, and it was one of the most talked about events. All it was ice cream for about an hour on the quad, but it got people out of their offices on a nice day. It got people talking to each other, talking across campus. We want to find more ways to be able to connect, not only just with staff, but also with all the employees on campus, the faculty as well. How can we build a bigger and stronger community and make Seattle U a much better place to work? So looking at those community aspects. Chelsea, am I forgetting anything?
Niles, are you sure that you weren't a plant for us to ask all these questions here?
I swear I'm not.
Great questions.
Yeah, they're excellent.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I mean, I know I've heard some statistics, about like 40+% of the staff and faculty are new since COVID. So it's definitely been something that I've felt is lacking in that area as well. So it's been hard to kind of get to know even the folks in my own division, and virtually Zoom is tough, but yeah, so those are all great things, and I look forward to hopefully being able to help out with that.
Great.
Okay, we don't have anything else planned. Did anyone have any parting words they wanted to say before we close this up? I was kind of hoping someone else would join at noon at 1 o'clock, after lunch ended, but
Well,
we got the interested.
we'll have this recording up on our website, so
That's
those
great.
that couldn't attend can watch it at their convenience.
That's good. Okay, and if you think of other questions, Niles, please feel free to reach out to any of us. I'm sure we'd be happy to answer those.
I think the only thing I would add at the end here, since you're wrapping this up, for the people that watch the video, later on, you are needed to be involved in the staff council.
Absolutely.
Your voice, you personally, are needed to be involved in this if this is to thrive and be an ongoing aspect of the shared governance for Seattle University. And if we're to be the kind of institution that we want to be, as we've defined for ourselves in our strategic directions document and in our shared aspirations. And so staff council is an important part of that. And I do hope that those that watch this later are ready to sign up and jump in and join it.
Yes, please.
Nominations are open now. They'll be open through Friday, May 6th. End of day.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Now it's nice to meet you.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
everyone for
you.
coming.